Hey, welcome back to the second video, all about Grow United and the projects that it is backing. Here with me again is Will Taylor, co-founder of Grow United. Will, in this video, I want to talk about pollution and the solutions that Grow United have to this worldwide problem. Just to start out, why is, or I guess is, agriculture and the agricultural industry, it's been blamed as the number one polluter on the planet. Is that true? Is that false? What are your thoughts there?
So I have a lot of thoughts on that, and I think that it gets a spotlight that has created some fallacies within it. But I think one of the things that we believe a lot is that it can be a really, really big part of the solution. And if you just look at one of the things I always go back to is if you look to history, so particularly the cow or the ruminant, right? So bison and cows, they've been on the earth for thousands of years, a lot longer than we have. You go back to mammoths. And somehow the earth has always seemed to do okay until we started polluting it with cars, automobiles, and flying trains and planes all over the world. And somehow we're pointing our fingers back at the thing that's been on the planet more than we have. And so I think there's something there. There's a natural form of the earth and the animals coexisting within it. And I think as we've dove deeper into that, we see a really good weave between regenerative agriculture particularly and us living here in really innovative times as human beings with new innovations and technologies coming what seems like every day.
I'm not sure what that animation was that just played on your screen, but it was highlighting your points of
Yeah,
something.
I think it just means that whatever I was saying is truth.
Right. Yes. Okay. Question two, let's talk about carbon credits. For somebody that's never really understood, maybe we've heard it in the news, just dissect, in simplest terms, what are carbon credits and how do they work?
Okay. So I believe that carbon credits in today's world are one of these examples to where we as humans start conceptualizing and adding ways to live cohesively with the natural world along with how we live it and continuing to advance technology. And so a carbon credit essentially is a way to capture the amount of carbon that's either being mitigated or sequestered in the atmosphere. So you can kind of think of it at a high level of one way to mitigate carbon is to say, all right, I'm emitting this much pollution or this much carbon into the atmosphere every year. So let's say me as a company is doing 5 million tons of carbon emissions a year through our activities. And that was in 2023. And then in 2024, I'm going to go from 5 million to 3 million. So you get the mitigation credits in that, which is the difference, which is 2 million, which is awesome. We can all diminish or mitigate the amount of pollution that we do on a daily basis and a yearly basis. The other side to this token is sequestration. And sequestration goes, it's not just mitigating, but it's actually capturing carbon from the atmosphere and holding it in a natural sink. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. And there's more ways that are being invented and coming up with very, very often. But regenerative agriculture is one of the best ways to do this. And so one of our partner farms actually created the largest worm farm in the world. And I'll give you an example of this specific example so you can kind of conceptualize how sequestration would work. They have a really big dairy farm. So they've got actually two of them, and each location about 30,000 cows. And every day those 30,000 cows have to poop and pee a lot. And so all of that waste used to go into these really, really big lagoons. And they would just sit there. And they smelled terrible, and they held a bunch of crap, and that is not good in a small area for the earth that they're on. And so what they came up with is they built this massive bed of worm farms and then a sprinkler system. So instead of all of this waste going into a big lagoon, it actually gets pumped into this sprinkler system. And it's kind of crazy when you see it because you look out and it just looks like you're watering a big dirt field. But when you get close, you see all these little worms on top of the dirt, and you see this poop and pee water coming out and going in. And what happens is the worms eat that, and then it comes out into this amazing mulch, natural fertilizer. But it also becomes a natural sink for this carbon. And in that process and the data collection within it on the Grow blockchain, you can actually monetize that credit now. And so you look at these companies that have massive pollution outside of agriculture, and you say, okay, we're FedEx, we're Amazon, and we're shipping and running things all over the world. Well, they can only mitigate so much, right? And so they're working on it, and they're going to mitigate from X number of tons to Y number of tons. But then they can buy these carbon credits from companies that have an excess. And so instead of being a carbon negative, they become carbon positive. And so the goal is to make everybody reach carbon neutrality. And so then we're generally, as a globe and as a species, living in carbon neutrality. And so you can buy these offsets to then offset what you're doing and how you're polluting. And we've helped farmers make, actually some of them, millions of dollars off of these practices. And it takes specific regenerative practices to do it, but it's a really, really cool play that leverages blockchain and our mission and brings the two together.
Okay, so this is a marketplace essentially of people that need to buy these carbon credits and also people that are creating these carbon credits. Why is using blockchain a better way to have that transaction? What has happened in the past that maybe isn't so great?
Yes. So one of the things that happened is this is very new. And so the definitions of what a carbon credit is or how do we collect the data on that has been new. And so people have come on and said, okay, here's the standard, here's the standard. And then unfortunately, people have created carbon credits that were not real and backed by anything. And so there was actually, Delta Airlines was in $1 billion class action lawsuit over the last couple of years because they were purchasing these carbon credits, claiming carbon neutrality to their customers. But it turns out that the credits that they were actually purchasing were not real. They were backed by rainforests all over the world that were actually in no threat of being cut down or sequestering carbon or mitigating carbon in any way. And so the root of that problem comes down to tracking and tracing and verifying the data that is collected and transferred from one entity to another that is that carbon credit. And so the blockchain can come in and help with that. So as a carbon credit is captured over here at the beginning of the process, and then it is verified, and then it's transferred to someone else in an ownership, a transfer of ownership of that, what we would call an NFT of that carbon credit. Then once that carbon credit is used against the carbon output of that company, all of that can be tracked and traced openly on the blockchain for everyone to see, where in the past, that was very, very difficult to see. And so as a consumer, to trying to support a company that's nourishing the world through carbon neutrality, I was just kind of trusting their word on it. I was saying, okay, I believe you. But when we started doing further digging, or the people start doing further digging, they start seeing like, this is not correct. And so blockchain just brings that to the front where everybody can see it, it can be open, and you can follow the entire process from the beginning to the end.
What plans does Grow United have to help facilitate the transaction between that farmer, or I assume it doesn't necessarily have to be a farmer. It could be me going in my backyard and planting 100 trees. How is that actually going to happen, that marketplace?
That's a great question. So we're working right now actually with some really cool partnerships. So one of the beauties about having a decentralized blockchain that can then come in and leverage or partner with projects is the blockchain is itself, it's decentralized. And so you can leverage that technology in projects. And so we have other companies who have built amazing technology in using drones and satellite footage to come in and look at what a piece of land was 10 years ago. And it's actually kind of crazy. They can see down to the seed, down to the root, and extract information just from those pictures, which is really cool. But then we have companies like that are coming in to leverage and partner with the Grow blockchain to show that data and to start bringing transparency in that space. So one of the things that we're doing is just leading out on what are the best ways and the best companies that can partner up with the Grow blockchain and bring that to the community. The other side of that is just awareness, doing things like this, these videos. I think sometimes we understate the importance of all of us educating on ourselves on what are the best ways to do it. And now that I'm aware, we talked about this a little bit in our last video, of just once I'm aware of something, things start to change. And that awareness really becomes the first piece. And so as we spread the word to us as just normal people, consumers going about our day to day, what even is a carbon credit? What is carbon neutrality? What can I do to help that? And as I think about that, it's helping companies that are doing their best to be nourishing to the planet, and spending our hard-earned dollars with them helps a lot and goes a long way. So that's what we're working on is educating people, partnering with the best people that we can to allow them to come in and leverage blockchain technology.
What are your big, bold goals when it comes to the pollution solution? What do you hope comes of all of this?
So we have an internal goal sometime that we want to make that we say sometimes of carbon neutrality by 2050. And so that would mean that every person, every entity, every company is aware and conscious about the actions that we take every day and making it into where we are all nourishing the planet. And I think that that's a massive snowball effect into where everything gets better. The world, the earth in and of itself has this amazing way of regenerating itself when we kind of don't get in the way and screw it up and try and force it to do things that it doesn't naturally do. And so our big goal is to educate to where everybody knows what that is. And I would imagine that if you're watching this video today, the vast majority that are going to watch this for the first time are going to learn something. And our goal is that in 10 years, everybody knows this. It's something that's top of mind. And things like knowing where our food came from, how it was grown, where it was grown, and the practices that went into that just become second nature again, like they were 100 years ago.
Pretty big goal, but nobody ever achieves a goal that they didn't set. So power to you for setting that.
Well, the bigger you set it, if you fall short, at least you did something along the way.
Right. Yes. So we talked in our last video about how the nodes are helping with the food verification and tracking. Talk a little bit about what the nodes are doing when it comes to carbon sequestration or the carbon credit system and this side of the Grow mission.
Yeah, amazing. So one of the things, if you ever heard the word NFT before, that's just a non-fungible token. And what that means is it's something that it can't be replicated and moved. And so one of the biggest issues in the carbon credit market is people reusing, repeating, or duplicated, or not accurately following through with where a credit was bought, sold, and how and when it was used. And when you essentially make that credit an NFT, then it can be tracked and traced through its entire life cycle. And that cannot happen without an active node network. And so having a node network that can confirm the actions that first and foremost, create that NFT, and then confirm and verify that the data that went into that NFT, which created that credit, is actually accurate and is able to move around. And so without an active node network that's running, we can't do any of that. It's just me talking about how cool it would be and not actually doing it. And so the nodes allow the ability for that to actually happen.
Last question that I have, I'm sure the people watching are interested in learning just a little bit more, anything that you can say about the Grow reward, when that is earned, how that is being utilized, just anything that you can tell us about the Grow reward itself.
Amazing. So the Grow reward, and this goes into the nodes as well, the way that Grow rewards are earned is as a reward for running the node. So the node is a miner, is a server that's active and running and communicating with the blockchain. And so as a reward for keeping that node active, it distributes tokens every single day. And as the blockchain distributes those tokens into the nodes, then our job as Grow United and even as community members of the blockchain is to say, okay, how can this reward be used? And so we as Grow United spend time working with farmers and producers and educating them on the benefits of blockchain and tracking and tracing. And we have partners right now who are farmers who say, hey, I would accept that Grow reward in exchange for food items. And so for my food. And so there's a partner right now who's in Washington State who very, very shortly from the time and recording of this video is going to accept the Grow reward in exchange for everything that he produces, which is very cool because to us and myself, it just shows the beauty of bringing blockchain into this space and how people want to be rewarded in that, and producers accepting it and saying, yeah, I'll accept that in exchange for our hard work, blood, sweat, and tears in making the food.
Yeah, that's exciting, and hopefully more to come.
Very.
Any final thoughts you want to say to this audience of people that we have their attention when thinking about Grow, sharing Grow with their friends? Any final thoughts about how to do that?
Yeah, I would just say it all starts with our own awareness and our willingness to put our dollars where our mouth is a little bit. The producers of today go through so much blood, sweat, and tears to get our food to where it is, to grow it in the best ways possible. And their reward is us wanting that type of food. And so what we can do is say, raise our hands and say, I want to know. I want to reward the best producers out there that truly are building and creating and producing the best food possible, and then doing it in the best regenerative way to truly nourish everything at a full scale, right? Not just drive profits, not just drive volume, but do it in the way that's best for everything. And be aware of it. Put your dollars where that goes. Support the Grow farmers, because as we do that, everything grows, everything gets better around us is what we believe in.
Will Taylor, thanks again for the great things, the great work that you're doing. Thanks for your time, and to everyone watching at home, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with another series real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.